Welcome to the High Road Podcast, where we rise above the noise and walk the path of growth, healing, and truth. It's been a while, and I'm so incredibly excited to share this episode today because it's felt like a long time. Lately, life has just felt a little bit like a juggling act between all the things that we're told to balance if we want to be healthy. My life has looked a lot like trying to find time for the gym or being present with my kids, getting enough sleep, going to therapy, on top of all of the responsibilities. I started to feel overwhelmed with feeling like there just wasn't enough time in the day to do what I needed to do or do the things that I wanted to do. And I'm sure so many of us feel like this. At first, I told myself it was just a busy season. But when I finally paused long enough to reflect, I realized that innocent feeling of I just don't have time was actually rooted in something much deeper, something older, a core wound whispering, "You're just not good enough. You can't make this work." A core wound that life would reject me, a core wound that my dreams would reject me, that the world around me would reject me and judge me. And that's what this episode is about today. Today, I'm sharing the story behind that realization, how these core wounds form, what they do to our nervous system, and how they quietly shape the way we move through the world. You're also going to learn how these wounds influence our habits, our relationships, our self-talk, and even the way our brains filter everyday situations. Most importantly, we're going to talk about how you can begin to rewire your brain when these core wounds start taking over. I'm giving you concrete, practical steps that you can use to understand your triggers, regulate your nervous system, and build new patterns that actually support you. So stay tuned, because by the end of this episode, you won't just understand why you feel the way you do. You'll know what to do with that awareness. You'll be able to walk away with practical tools and a new perspective on the patterns that have been holding you back. If you're ready to feel more grounded and more connected to yourself, you are in the right place. Here we go. Hey guys, and welcome back to this episode. It's your host, Maddie. I am so excited for today because this one really just hits home for me. It's one that I never knew existed. When it came to core wounds, a few years ago, I would have been like, what the living heck are you talking about? So I started counseling just a few years ago, and within just a couple sessions, I found myself sharing my story, of course, and everything that I was struggling with and everything that felt so incredibly heavy. And I'll never forget the moment that my counselor looked me right in the eye and she said, "You have a core wound that tells you that you're not good enough." And I immediately was like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, none of what I just said, none of what I had been explaining to you has anything to do with that. Like, I was very naive about the things that I was experiencing, about how I felt about myself. I had no idea. And I sat back and I thought about it. And I was just like, holy crap. Look at my patterns. Like, look at the things that I've experienced and how I've reacted. She was exactly right. I grew up with a very, very loving mother who married my stepfather, who was everything and more. I've talked about this in past episodes. But I grew up with great parents. I grew up with loving and nurturing parents. But I also had a biological father that abandoned me at a young age. And when you have that, it creates something in you where there was so much inconsistency for me. There were so many things that I didn't understand. And for anyone who has been in this situation, it's perceived differently by so many people. I mean, it's crazy when me and my sister start to talk about it and how she perceives it versus how I perceive it. How, certain struggles or triggers that she may have are different from mine. And it's really crazy to me how people can respond to situations like this. But I felt very abandoned. And I felt like a huge majority of it was my fault. And there were things that I just didn't understand that I was being protected from when I was a child. And of course, then once I became older, I started to understand those things, and I did understand those things, but I felt not good enough. I felt like the love, or at least what I thought was love, right? Because whoever your biological parent is, like no matter how much of a POS they are, there's going to be something in you that cares about them. And so I felt not good about that. I felt completely abandoned. I felt like people can just up and go whenever, and you never see them again. And that's exactly what happened. I remember in elementary school, a teacher once told me that I never finish what I start. I literally sat in my like conferences, and she said, Maddie picks out like a lot of books, but she never finishes one. She really struggles to finish. Like she starts a lot of things, but she struggles to finish. And I swear, like I was a really, really good kid. I followed the rules and things like that. So like teachers had a lot of good things to say about me for the most part. I mean, at least I listened and I like sat on my desk and tried to do my work and did the best that I could. But when that was said about me, that should not be a core wound, but it wasn't. She didn't mean it like that. She didn't mean it like that at all. She was being honest. She was like, she starts stuff. She never finishes it. To this day, I literally am in my brain. I'm like, I start so much crap, and maybe I have ADHD. Maybe that's what she was trying to say. Maybe I don't know, but I'm all over the place all the time. And whether that's a core wound or whether it's not, like there's something in me that makes me like bounce around to a bunch of different things. Like it makes me feel like I'm impulsive or something. So I've had to be really mindful about that, because truthfully, that really is what I've done. I've been super impulsive in certain parts of my life. There's been a lot of times when maybe I've given up on something. Maybe that's relationships or friendships or like hardship or a dream that I've had. When I look back, I think the pattern is honestly when it gets a little too hard, or in the case when I was younger, I got bored of the book, or the book got, I don't know, it took too much endurance to finish it. I quit. So that's something that's stuck with me. Growing up, I felt like there was this pressure to look a certain way. I remember my family always telling me and my sister how good of kids we were. And, they just flooded us with amazing compliments that made us feel really good. And I think made my mom feel really good, made my parents feel really good. But I think that created a pressure in me to like be this picture perfect child. And when I wasn't that, because there was a million and one times that I messed up, I kind of felt like there was this sense that like I wasn't worthy, or like I had to please other people. I am such a people pleaser. Like this is something that I'm currently working on. My entire life, I've just wanted to please everybody. I've wanted to please everyone else before I like make myself happy, or before I'm happy with me. I want everyone else to like me. So then when I actually needed help, and there were things that I really needed help with, this is like such a secret almost for me and almost for, my family. But I went through a stage where I would not eat. And it wasn't just like a teenage girl thing, like, oh, she's not eating at lunch at school. Like, I wasn't eating for like months. I don't know what triggered it. I don't know why I had an obsession with not eating and getting super, super skinny. But I was at the point where I was like 100 and like, I don't know, 30 pounds or something, right? Like I was in middle school, and I got all the way down to 80 or 90. That's a substantial amount of weight for a middle schooler. I remember going to the doctor for just a random checkup, and the doctor pulling my mom out of the room, and I had no idea why. And then later on that night, my mom had communicated with me that, the doctor asked if I was anorexic. And that just, like, I knew what I was doing. I don't know what triggered it, but I knew that I needed help, and I didn't know how to communicate that. And I can only imagine that my parents didn't really know what to do either. Like that, like there was a sense of like, what the heck is going on? Like, why is she doing these things? But as the kid, I didn't know how to get that help. I didn't know how to communicate that. So oftentimes growing up, I would, like, whatever I was feeling inside, I felt like I really would just start to shut down. Like, oh, I'm not perfect, or I'm not worthy, or, clearly I need help here, but you know what, I'm just going to be angry or just shut you out, shut down. So it came out in a lot of ways that I just didn't know how. I didn't know how to get help. In high school, I felt like I never really fit in. Like, I was that kid that, I was in athletics, but I wasn't super good. Like I wasn't able to party and go out like a lot of my friends were. I mean, don't get me wrong, like I still would like sneak out and do the teenager thing, but I had more rules than most of my friends. Like, I wasn't with the partiers. I wasn't really with the athletic people. Like, I really struggled making connections, but I tried to mask it. I tried to mask it forever. And I think that sense of like not knowing who I was and who I fit in with really had a large impact on me. Like, I was so lost. And most young people are, most high schoolers especially, you're lost. You're trying to fit in with your group. But like, then that didn't go away in college, because in college I just became more isolated. And a huge part of that was either shutting people out or not, like I was afraid to make connections. And so I just felt so unworthy of friendships. I felt so unworthy to be vulnerable with someone, to let someone in, to think that someone would want to hang out with me. So I created all of these like fake relationships with girls, or I clung to the relationships that I had with guys in college. And that was all toxic, right? Like, there were so many relationships that I was in that left me feeling disrespected, betrayed, like questioning my worth. Not all of them, but most of them in my young, like 20s, my early 20s. So feeling chosen was such a struggle. As I'm going through this, you're like, oh my gosh, she has a lot of core wounds. Like, and all of this, like all of these things. And you could probably put some of them into like the same category, right? But then when I became a mother, I felt this overwhelming pressure that my kids deserved someone better than me. I remember the day that my son was born and the day that was supposed to be the happiest moment of my life. And I wanted so badly to be happy. But I had this little person in front of me who counted on me, who I loved more than life itself, who completely changed my purpose. And I wasn't good enough for him. I was not the version of myself that I wanted to be. I wasn't the version of myself that I respected, that I loved. And the world around me was so chaotic at the time when my son was born. So chaotic. I struggled so badly. Just going home and just feeling like, oh my gosh, like this little boy deserves the entire world. How the hell am I going to give that to him? And so I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about these deep core wounds that I have that maybe you can relate to. Maybe you can, there's even a piece of this where you're like, yep, I get that. I feel that. So we need to dive into what even are core wounds. Well, core wounds are an unintentional or this subconscious belief about yourself that's usually formed from trauma, whether it's rejection, shame, betrayal, guilt, or just not feeling good enough. It often creates this response within ourselves that attacks our nervous system, like literally attacks it. And it makes us believe that we're in survival, that we need to protect ourselves. As people, that's what we're going to do. When there is something that we need to be defensive about, or if there's something that we need to protect ourselves from, our bodies are like, it's innate in us to naturally protect ourselves from that. But when our nervous system believes that something is happening again that was traumatic, we go right into that response, right into that, oh, we're going to war. We need to be ready. So without coping skills to manage our core wounds, then that's when we can react out of fight, flight, or flee. Fight, flight, or freeze. At its worst, we can, become physically, verbally aggressive. We can refuse to take any accountability for our actions or the things that we say. And we can repeat the same cycles over and over until every relationship we had or had the opportunity to have is completely destroyed. I can connect to some pieces of this. At its best, if we are in our fight, flight, or freeze state, we can isolate ourselves from other people, refusing vulnerability at all costs, refusing to be emotionally available to ourselves, and allowing us to feel good for a while, maybe for even a long time in the best case scenario, until we essentially make ourselves miserable, operating from constant state of fear and self-suppression. I never thought of it like this. I never knew that our nervous system was this memory center, like this database of deep feelings and trauma and beliefs. And how when we have core wounds, our nervous system is going to operate from those things. So it wasn't until I joined therapy when I began to understand that our brains actually do have the ability to change and adapt. Because when I found out that I had core wounds, I was like, well, shit. Like, I'm screwed, right? Like, there's like me and a billion other people. We're screwed when you have core wounds. Like, there's no way around it. And then I learned that our brains can change. And they're actually supposed to be able to change. They can be rewired. They are made in that way. And there's actually a term for it, and it's called neuroplasticity. So in order for us to be in this state where we can rewire our brains and transform and think of negative things that have happened to us, or traumatic experiences, and how we can, when we think about those things, how we can, or if we experience something like that again after we've already experienced a traumatic state, what happens when we're triggered, how we can actually change our brain then to think of a positive experience, or rewire our brains to find the positive in it. And every circumstance, every situation is different, right? There's going to be some traumatic experiences that are so hurtful, that are so evil, that you think, how on earth can there be any positive in this? Like, how can you rewire your brain? We have to understand that neuroplasticity, to be able to rewire our brain and change it, it doesn't mean that we just like forget and it just totally just goes away. There are all sorts of different kinds of research and like ways that professionals can work with us that have the skills to be able to rewire and change our brain. And a lot of those resources can be used in different ways, especially when there's variations of trauma. But when you think about the terrible things that have happened, it's not that our goal is just to forget about it and put it under the rug and it never happened. The goal is that it just gets a little bit better with time, right? The troubling part for me was that I had to first be aware and mindful of myself, like my reactions, my patterns. This was my downfall. I could not, not that I could not, I refused almost my whole entire life. There were parts of my, versions of my past self where I refused to take accountability. I blamed everybody else. Nothing that I did was wrong. And now that I'm saying it out loud, it sounds a little narcissistic. But there were certainly parts of me that was not ready to be emotionally available to myself. I was not able to be mindful or to sit with me long enough to even know what I was feeling. So I just was like this robot of a person, just kind of walking around and just with a mask on and doing everything that I can to distract myself from what was right in front of me, the things that I was feeling. I was just in this self-suppression state. Without mindfulness, we are going to be stuck in repeating the same cycles over and over and over again. That relationship issue that keeps happening every single time you're with someone. And let me just tell you, every single time it's not your partner. If it keeps happening over and over and over again, maybe the first time, second time, maybe the third time, it's a coincidence. If it keeps happening though, it's probably because you're repeating some sort of pattern that you aren't really being mindful enough or taking accountability to. So then I was able, after I was actually chose to be mindful and to sit with myself, and that took a lot of work. Then I was able to make connections and begin the process of rewiring my brain. So up next, this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about exactly that, rewiring our brains. Because when core wounds start to take over, it does not feel logical. It feels urgent. It feels real. It feels like something is about to be lost. It feels like we're going to go to war, and we need to be ready for it. And in those moments, we're not reacting from who we are today. We're reacting from who we had to be to survive. But here's the good news. Awareness changes everything. Because once you can name it, you can begin to shift it. We're going to take a quick break for our advertisements, And when we come back, I'm walking you through the exact steps to take when your core wounds start running the show, so you can respond from strength instead of survival. Right now, I want you to share this with someone who you deeply care about, who is operating from their core wounds and needs a light to look forward to. Someone who needs hope. Someone who needs to know that it can get better. So stay with me. This next part might be the one that changes how you handle your triggers forever. Hey guys, and we're back. I am so excited that you decided to stick with me for the second half of this episode, because this is the best part. This is where we will go through steps for when you're triggered, because there's going to be times in your life when you're triggered. But I don't want you to live in survival, to think that the second that you're triggered, it's over. Like it is done for. And to succumb to every irrational decision or the core wound that is trying to get you to believe the things that may not actually be happening. I want the best for you. We are able to live in a life where we can be triggered, but we can have coping skills and we can get through it, and we can live a life that is full of mixed emotions and good days and bad days. And we can still be able to live abundantly. So the first thing that I want to talk about is naming the wound. So when you get triggered, let's say the situation is you asked your partner to do the laundry. They have the day off, right? And you come home from work and they are watching TV and they just woke up from a nap, and you go upstairs to find your laundry still all over the floor. Your first reaction is, he does not give a crap. He doesn't give a crap about me. He doesn't give a crap about our relationship. Like, he just doesn't care. And instead, I challenge you to shift your mindset to, he doesn't care about me or about our relationship, to, my betrayal wound is activated. I asked him to do something while I was at work, and not even in a controlling way. I just asked, could you please, do the laundry that's on the floor? That's all. And instead of communicating, instead of saying, hey, I forgot, instead of, thinking about putting one less load off of you, he made it all about him. And while that might not be the perspective, it really might just be that he's trying to enjoy his day, then he started binge watching a TV show, completely forgot about the laundry. You came home and it was sooner than what he thought. That's when we have to be able to separate who you are from what you're feeling in that moment. And I want you to understand that your feeling is not irrational. I walked around for a really long time, every single time that I got triggered, and I was just I don't know why I'm feeling this way. It's so I can't feel this way. And I fought it and I fought it and I fought it because I told myself that I was being irrational because I was triggered. And that did not help my situation in any way, shape, or form. I just ended up holding it in. Or when it finally came out, I was freaking pissed. So I wasn't communicating clearly. You're not irrational for your emotions. We're not robots that just can pretend like we're not feeling a certain way. It's okay to be triggered with whatever situation it is, whether it's the smallest thing or the biggest, it doesn't matter. You can be triggered. The next one is regulate before you respond. Let me say it again. Regulate before you respond. Core wounds, as I said earlier, they create this survival response. You're going to go into fight, flight, or or you're going to freeze. You're going to right away blame, start an argument, start yelling at your partner. You're going to flight. Screw you, I'm out of here. I'm going to the gym. I don't know, maybe I'll come back tonight. Maybe I won't. Or freeze. You just shut down. You completely shut down. I think I've experienced all of these. I know for a fact, actually, I've experienced all these. Like I've done every single one just to try to survive when I'm triggered. But I encourage you, before you start texting, before you start confronting, before you start shutting down or over-explaining. Oh man, that's a big one. I'm just pausing on that because that's a big one. I over-explained a lot. Like there were a lot of times when I wasted a lot of energy explaining something to, number one, maybe someone who just was not in, who was never going to get it. Like no matter how I explained it, like no matter how many times I explained the frickin' sky is blue, they were not going to, they were just going to defy whatever I had to say. I spend so much time over explaining. Or over explaining when like me and that person were not in the right state of mind. And it couldn't make sense. Like we weren't thinking with our rational brains. So it's like I was over explaining. That person was just like ready to argue with me rather than listen to what I was saying. It didn't help anything. So regulate before you respond. Whether you're going to breathe, whether you're, this is actually a really good one that I thought was kind of bullcrap when I did it in counseling. But I was really just triggered one day, and she told me to try this like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. So I sat in her office and I did it. 5 things that I can see. Okay. 4 things that I can touch. 3 things that I can hear. 2 things that I can smell, right? Like whatever. And you go through your senses, and it helps your body to be able to make the connection of where you are right now. And it kind of separates you from, okay, this is what I'm feeling like, this is what's happening, versus you're present here right now. And it gets you a little distracted from that. It's able to calm your nervous system in that sense. Or delay the conversation if needed. If you need to regulate, and sometimes, depending on the situation, of course, you might need a day. Sometimes you might just need 5 minutes. Sometimes you might need, like I've been in situations where I've needed like 2 or 3 days. And that is okay to delay the conversation. What is not okay is to delay the conversation without notifying your partner or whoever is on the other end, where that person is maybe looking forward to a solution or looking forward to a conversation, and you're just kind of keeping them hanging on with no intention to have a conversation and with every intention to try to get out of it because it's uncomfortable. That is not okay. So if you're going to delay the conversation, delay it, put a time stamp on it and come back to it, but certainly don't leave the other person hanging. The next one is reality check the trigger. As we know, core wounds are going to distort our perception. So when I'm thinking about going back to the situation with the laundry, right? My first instinct is, he doesn't give a shit about me. He doesn't care about me. In fact, you know what? He's probably cheating. I'm laughing because these are the things that I live through, right? Like this is at my worst state. I'm just totally selling myself out of where I've been triggered before. And, the things that go on in my brain. So don't judge me. Don't criticize me. We're all working on it. Right. But, when we're triggered, these are the things that can happen, and we have to be aware Like I had to take a step back in those moments. Like, this is laundry. Like, this is totally separate from the ultimate betrayal. But I had to be able to communicate that, hey, it's not that you don't care about me. It's not that you're cheating on me. It's that I asked you to do something and instead you completely ignored that. You didn't communicate that. You weren't transparent. And now I feel like there's a huge burden on my shoulders because now I came home and I wanted to do this, but now I have to do laundry and I feel a little betrayed because I feel like you didn't prioritize, me or value what I asked you. It's as simple as that. So check the trigger. What are the facts? What is actually happening? What assumptions am I filling in? If you are going straight from the laundry's on the floor and I asked him to do it to he's cheating on me, he probably was hooking up with someone all day long. Like, those are assumptions. You don't have any evidence for that. My counselor's really good now about asking, what evidence do you have? And then I'll pause and I'll be like, well, none. So ask yourself, what evidence do you have? What assumptions are you filling in? Is there another possible explanation? The next one is speak from the adult and not the wound. This is so crucial, but this is one of the hardest things because when we are triggered, we are going to go back to like the state where we experienced that trauma. If I'm a 6-year-old child who experienced parents constantly fighting and dad slamming the door and leaving and never coming back again, when I get triggered, when I feel abandoned, I'm going to go back to that 6-year-old me. I might be 35 years old now, but I'm going to go back to that 6-year-old me. And that's how I'm going to respond. That's how I'm going to act. So instead of accusing or blaming, try to communicate. Create boundaries, not control. Simply protect yourself. And I want to go into this here in just a couple minutes as far as what are boundaries? How can we protect ourselves? What are things that we can do so it's not that we never experience being triggered again, but how can we be triggered less? So speak from the adult. You want to use your rational brain. You want to use your wise mind. I hear my counselor talk about that all the time. My sister's also a counselor, so she's always talking about like wise mind. And I'm just like, what is this? Why am I only hearing about this? Like now that I'm 28 years old, I could have really used this information when I was much younger. But we don't want to make decisions when we're in that, dysregulated state. When we're in that 6-year-old child state, we need to speak from the adult and not from the wound. Reparent the younger you. With this is actually really, really an emotional thing for me. I remember sitting in counseling and my counselor kind of creating this image that I was supposed to replay in my mind, right? Where when I experienced certain traumas and I had to kind of like envision myself and me as a child and the things that I felt like I needed to protect or the things that I felt like happened that were really hurtful. And I needed to go back and nurture that child, nurture my younger self. I needed to go back and ask me, what did I need? And then, like, I just remember how she had me kind of picture this scenario for myself. And I started just really crying. Like, clearly it was really in my nervous system where she had me and my younger self, like have this conversation, and she kind of went through and helped my brain be able to imagine that. Of course, I had to do all of the work. But then after like the conversation that we had and me talking to my younger self about like, what did you need? What protection did you need? Like, what can I do to help you, this child? What can I do now, this older version of me, to help my younger version? And then we like held hands, like walked across this bridge. And like, it sounds corny. It sounds cringy, right? You're like, okay, like however the hell this is supposed to help you. But when you look back and if you ever look at a picture of yourself when you were so young, or whenever you experience trauma or something that was so hurtful that sticks with you to this day, that's a vulnerable place. That's a vulnerable child or vulnerable person of your past, a vulnerable version of you, especially if you're a parent, right? Like you think, and you have young kids, you think, like I look at my kids all the time and I just think they are so innocent. They are just these perfect little people. And you never want anything bad to happen to them, right? Like if I could just wrap them up in a bubble, I would. That's not rational or reasonable. But like, if we can reparent the younger versions of us and ask ourselves, okay, what did we need then? And what do we need now? Healing is not about someone else proving you're safe. It's about becoming that safety for yourself. Being safe for you. Because we can't control the things that go on in this world. We can't control the things that happen outside of us, what other people do, other circumstances. So how can I protect me? What do I need? And then choose that action based on your values and not your fear. This is such a struggle for me because of a lot of my experiences, I have a lot of fears. There's a lot of things that I don't want to do again. There's a lot of things that I worry about that haven't even happened before. So when we're acting out of fear, we have to know that we might want control. We might want to like chase down what we want or go out of our way or not let something go. We might want to withdraw or just totally shut down. We might want to test people, test relationships. But security, and if we're not going to act out of fear, we're going to make decisions that are clear. We're going to experience clarity. We're going to have calm communication. We're going to have boundaries, and we're going to have self-respect. We're going to love ourselves. And people who love themselves are going to have boundaries. I am so tired of living in a world, or at least based off of my experiences, right? Like that where there isn't boundaries. And I'm talking to the past version of me, right? Like I didn't know boundaries until I was like freaking 26 years old. I didn't know anything about boundaries. When a lot of the times I'm noticing that when people hear the word boundaries, it's this negative connotation like, oh, you want to have a boundary with me? No, you are not going to control me. That's not what it is. Boundaries is not control in any way, shape, or form. Boundaries is simply, hey, this is how I can stay safe. This is like what I will do. This is what I will not do. This is where the line gets crossed. If you decide to cross this line, then there will be a consequence. Maybe I have to step back. Maybe I need to reevaluate our relationship. Maybe I need to consider if this is safe for me. Maybe I just need total, complete distance from you. Boundaries are the safest thing for us. And communicating our boundaries with other people. Hey, this is what makes me feel safe. This is what can happen. This is something that I won't do. And if people respect that, that's a healthy person for you. If people don't respect it, it's not. If people don't respect boundaries, if people don't have boundaries for themselves, it could just be that they don't have experience setting boundaries. When I first set boundaries, I felt like, okay, I'm setting boundaries. Now everybody's going to freaking leave me. Now nobody's going to love me. Now I'm not people pleasing, right? I'm not pleasing these other people. That has nothing to do with it. Boundaries is for you. It's to filter out the people that are for you and the people that are not. It just helps make the path so much clearer. I want you to ask yourself, what would the healthiest version of me do next? When you are triggered, ask yourself that question. And I want you to think about, what does the healthiest version of you look like? For this, I think it's always changing. When I look back and I think of when I started counseling and my counselor asked me this question, what does the healthiest version of you look like? I think I envision myself now. And I'm proud of that. I choose me. I have boundaries. I have self-respect. But now I think, what is the healthiest version of me? And now it's growing. Now that's changed. And I think we can always continue to have those expectations for ourselves, because that's how we grow. That's how we get better. And that's the goal. The goal is not that we stay complacent. Oh, great, I got to where I needed to be. Now I'm done. Now the hard work is over. There's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be triggers. There's always going to be new circumstances and things beyond our control. So what would the healthiest version of me do next? If there's one thing I hope that you take from today's episode, it's this. Your core wounds are not proof that you're broken. They're proof that you survived something. When they rise up, it doesn't mean you failed. It means there's still a part of you asking to be seen, understood, and led with compassion. The goal isn't to never be triggered again. The goal is to notice it sooner, to pause a little quicker, and to respond just a little bit wiser. Healing is not loud. It's what people don't always see. It's little steps and feels worse before it gets better. And it takes time. Sometimes healing looks like taking one deep breath instead of sending that text. Sometimes it looks like saying, I'm activated. I need a minute. Sometimes it looks like choosing dignity over defense. Sometimes it means letting go of what you thought you knew to make room for something that you don't even know yet. And that's the high road. And every time you choose awareness over reaction, you are literally rewiring your entire future. So thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this work, because it's not easy, but it is so worth it. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who's learning how to respond instead of react. And as always, keep choosing growth, keep choosing clarity, keep choosing the high road. I'll see you next time.